1% of dudes rapping, they ain't nice as me. 98% ain't live the same type of life as me. The judge gave me life and then they sent me where the life is be. That level 4 with depth and vice, the type of stuff they like to see. Two choices, fight or flee. I refuse to die a chump. I never been a mark, but damn, it's scary when that riot jump. I seen dudes cry, get pumped, and some sexually brutalized. Knew a dude who lost his life and he was only doing 5 year-long racial fights when homie all you do is ride. Lonely days and nights up in a hole causing suicide. From the moment you arrive, you see the Mexican mafia, AB skinheads with big giant swastikas, pro-black philosophers, the BGF, the Kumi, and Muslims who will murk you from the nation to the Sunni. That MS was loony, quick to ride up on they rival. Even Christians went to church, hide knives up in a Bible. Political and tribal, the Crips and Damus, the Long Beach, the Hubs and the Dubs and the Grooves, the IE, the Bakersfield, the Dago Pyrus, the Hustlers quick to roll, the gangsters gon' move. Whatever click you choose, you better say what's cracking, YouTube. It's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. Yard down. So once again, I'm back with another interview. Today we got another special guest. We got Cree, the racketeer. He has a YouTube page called 8 Million Stories, and I definitely advise you guys to go check it out. He got some funny stories, some stuff about when he was growing up in LA. So introduce yourself.
My name is Christopher Hawthorne, also known as Cree, better known as California Cree. 53 from LA / the Bay, LA, Oakland. And I'm an author and a truck driver.
And so he also, he done, I believe, 17 and a half years in the feds, besides growing up, as he mentioned, in LA and Los Angeles. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where were you born and where did you grow up at?
Well, I was born in Los Angeles, California. I was raised in LA and the Bay, Oakland. I grew up, basic childhood, went to school, went to church, lived in a neighborhood that was affiliated with gangs, and slowly but surely made my way to gang banging, selling crack. Then I ended up getting crack and going to the feds for 17 years and 10 months. I started off in Inglewood, Colorado. I got kicked out of there, went to FCI Florence. Then I went to FCI Oxford, got kicked out of there, and went to USP Leavenworth, Terre Haute, Indiana, Marion, USP Marion, Lompoc, Victorville. And then I went home 2008. Then I came back on a 2-year violation, 2010 to 2012, at SCI Herloin, California.
Okay, and so you said you was 53, so I'm assuming you was born like when, 1970?
1970, July 15th, 1970.
Okay, and so tell us a little bit about your childhood, what it was like growing up, and where did you grow up at, like specifically what area in Los Angeles?
I grew up in the Athens area. I'm from Athens Park. Right off of El Segundo and Figueroa. I grew up on the El Segundo and San Pedro in Maine. I grew up in between them two streets there. I wasn't really into sports. I didn't play much sports. I used to break dance, do graffiti, DJ. I was into the hip hop scene, doing that shit. That was pretty much it. I mean, went to school. I went to Job Corps, got kicked out of Job Corps, came back home. Then went to juvenile. As a juvenile, I caught a case and went to fire camp. And I learned how to fight fires, brush fires. I did that for about a year and I got out. Then I went to, like I said, I was a Job Corps first. And went there for about 90 days, got kicked up out of there.
And so when would you say that you started noticing, the gangs in your area, specifically for those who are not familiar with the area? He grew up in an area that was controlled by the Bloods. So when did you start noticing, the gangs in your area?
Shit, I mean, when I first was able to understand it, I was a kid. It was the gang was already there. Athens, before it was Athens Park, it was Black Cobra. So I mean, it was always gangs around it. It just wasn't as deep or as wasn't as turned up as it was in the 80s, like in the 70s, like it was in the 80s. Each year I mean, each decade it became more and more aggressive. Like the '70s, the homies was there, but it wasn't as violent as it became in the '80s and '90s. You know, when they brought the crack cocaine in '84, when crack hit the scene, then everything kind of got turned up. You know, there's money in there, more violence, more people joining gangs. People, you know, it's more crime and all that. So, I mean, it's been around me all my life. My
And
older brother, but
go ahead.
no, I was saying my older brother is, you know, he's from Piru, but you know, our area is Pirus and Bloods, but they both the same. But he was from Piru. I grew up from Athens Park, so you know, I had older brothers that was banging too.
And so about what age would you say it was that you joined the gang, and did you, by you growing up being born and raised pretty much over there in that area, did you have to join, or it would just let you was part of the crew from day one?
Yeah, I was raised on it, so I didn't have to get initiated or socked in the head or go on a W crash mission. None of that. I grew up around there, so you know what I'm saying. I just became it. You know what I mean? I just when I wanted to jump off the porch, it was already there for me. So we don't. That's not tradition in my neighborhood anyway. Dudes going out. You know, you know how you see guys get a fight for 3 minutes. We don't do that in our area.
Right.
Everybody pretty much, you know, grew up over there. You know everybody, and you just become it. You know what I'm saying? So by the time I was a teenager, when I was ready to just do that, I was probably about 15 years old when I was ready to just do that.
So it was pretty much like a rite of passage for you, by you growing up being there. If you chose to be in it, you was already accepted because everybody knew you already.
Exactly. Yeah, I had to do it. Yeah, exactly. I've been there all my life.
And so I hear from a lot of older people who are in our age who will say that being a blood back then was extremely different from nowadays, when you know you have YouTube saturated with everybody wanting to be gangs and wanting to be bloods. What was it like back then being a blood?
It was hard. You couldn't. It was. I mean, it was hard being a blood because it was outnumbered. So for every one blood, there's like 7 Crips back then. You know what I'm saying? 7 aggressive Crips, not no niggas playing. You know, it was real hardcore. So it was hard being a blood back then. You had to have some balls. You had to have some, especially going to jail. You go up in them holding tanks, and you up in there by yourself. You got to, you got to be down. You got to be somewhat down. So it was hard. It was a struggle, but that's why we got along back then like we did. But the closer we became to the millennium, the further we grew apart. See, the Bloods are nothing like how they were back then. I mean, the way it is now, it's separated. Ain't no more love in it like it used to be when I was young. When I was in.
So, as you mentioned, I've heard a lot of older bloods from our generation, our age bracket, say that back then it was real blood love. That being a blood, you could go to any LA blood hood and be welcome and accepted.
Any hood. I mean, we used to go to the jungles, to the pueblos every weekend. Pueblos had a party in the parking lot every Friday. Everybody was welcome. All the all the Bloods was welcome. You go to the jungles in Jim Gillian Park. It was always love, acceptance, because we all we had was each other. We were short. It wasn't. And now how it's more Bloods now. I thought Bloods are more populated now and more popular now. You know, everybody want to be a Blood. You know what I'm saying? And then that was unheard of back then, because back then everybody wanted to be a Crip because the Crips was deep. You know, they didn't want no blood. Hell no. They didn't want to be no blood because we were short, and you know what I'm saying, it wasn't as popular as the Crips. So now the Bloods is popular and deep, and the value of it is went down. You know, it ain't nothing like it ain't that love like how it used to be when I was a kid. It was way more, you know, just acceptance amongst the homies. But now, shit, it's separated.
And so you kind of grew up, in a unique era. And where I say it's unique is because you was one of those dudes who grew up in the age where you watched it transform to when dudes was fighting to the gunplay. So what was it like when you was going to high school or junior high school, and it was all about fighting and, you know, having fades?
Well, I mean, it was much, you know, it wasn't so much. Well, when them guns came, when that crack came in, let me just say this: when that crack came into play, '84. By the time '86 came, a lot of fist fights went out the window. You know, you tore a fade, you put up your dude, pull out a 9mm and bust on your ass.
So can you explain for those who are unfamiliar with LA and unfamiliar with the area that you grew up in, how close is the next rival Crip set to where you grew up at?
Well, it was seen north of me is the 11 East Coast Block Crips. There's only one street. I mean, they on 118th, but the street 120th separate us from them because once you go to 119th, you're on their side. Then once you come on 121st, you're on our side. So it's just one street north, and then west of us is the Raymond. So it's a couple, it's a couple blocks between us and them. Uh, the coast, and then you got the paybacks. They kind of closer, about 2-3 blocks over too, right? But the closest is the East Coast, the more closer to us. They just they right there. Everybody else you got to kind of like it's a little ways. Then you got the Carver Parks and everybody else. But east of us is it's all Bloods and Pyrus on the east of us.
Right. And so when the shooting became out of control, you said when the crack cocaine hit, and how hard was it, navigating those streets and basically guarding your life when the people that you're beefing with are so close by?
I mean, it was difficult. I mean, you just you did what you had to do. I mean, shit. I mean, from where I stayed, because our hood it's not big, but it's a little way because I grew up on more than 130th. Our hood is from 120th all the way to 135th, so it's 15 blocks north and south. So it was a little ways for me because I'm more closer to. Behind me is the Pyrus, 135 Pyrus, the Campanella, and then it's the west side. So on my side, it's really more a lot of Bloods. But once I travel north, then that's where the East Coast Crips. But they wasn't that really close to me on my side of the hood because our hood is east and west. We have an east and west hood. So it's two sides of us. So it's a little ways. I'm not on that side of the hood where they just right there. I mean, because if you go in one part of the hood, you can literally we can see each other.
At what age do you believe you was when you had a friend either murdered or seriously, hurt by gunplay?
Oh, that's a good question. The first, what gunplay? Well, the first incident, but he wasn't from my hood, but I knew him. But we went to school. Me and this cat went to school together, and I knew him. He was cool. He had got shot on Central. He was from Piru, and somebody rolled by and blasted him in his chest and his face. And I was like, Dad, because he died so young. He died, we was like 16 when he died. And then another one of my partners, he got killed in a shootout with some Compton Crips. And he was like 16. And the dad was like, damn, because they was both young. And we all grew up together. We went to high school, junior high, and elementary together. So I was like, yeah, it affected me a lot. It made me more on point and made me want to kind of, approach shit head on. Like if I have a confrontation, I gotta, meet it head on. I gotta attack it. I can't let it just, be ran over.
And in your experience, when incidents like that happen, does that start to kind of like filter out who's really serious and who's really not among the homies that you hang out with when people start losing their lives?
Ain't no question, because once somebody lose their life and you ain't ready to ride for them, then you thinking, damn, what if that was me? If I was dead, and nigga, you want to ride? You know what I'm saying? Because if it happened to you, I'm gonna ride for you. So yeah, you definitely see the boys separated from the men when that kind of shit jump off. Oh, no question. Yeah.
And so what was it like, going to high school? Did you go to high school with some of the guys that your hood didn't get along with?
Well, I went to Centennial High School, and Centennial High School was 80% Bloods and Pirates, and then the other 20% was some Crips that went there from Front Hood, Carver Park, Pocket Hood, Mona Park. It was some Crips that went there. 20%. They was at 20% that went there, but yeah, I mean, the Crips that went to the school with us, we didn't, because I would see him, but then I wouldn't really see him. Some of them would leave after lunch, you know what I'm saying? some of them did hang out because we was kind of deep in Centennial, right? And every now and then it'd be a little scuffle back there and here and there, but it wasn't nothing serious. Wasn't no shooting on a murder, so we wouldn't kill each other at that, back at that time. Right?
What was it like when crack, when for those who didn't happen to live through that crack era, what was it like when, the crack explosion kicked off and people started selling crack and buying cars and guns and stuff like that? Did you participate in hustling?
Hell yeah, it was a beautiful thing. Of course I did. You know what I'm saying? Crack cocaine. I mean, yeah, it was a beautiful. I mean, I gave somebody $50, and he gave me 5 big ass rocks. You know what I'm saying? I made way more than $100, so I saw that I can double or a little bit more, double a little bit more my money. Shit, that was the best thing since apple pie. You know what I'm saying? No question. So I mean. Yeah, I participated all the way up till I caught a case. I started like it came out in 84. I didn't really put my hands on until 85. And I did it from 85 all the way to 90. You know what I'm saying? 1990 is when I caught my federal case, and it was a crack case. I got caught with 1,000 grams of crack cocaine going to Missouri.
And so you, like a lot of people, myself included, you found going out of state selling drugs to be much more lucrative.
Oh man, much more lucrative. Because in LA at that time, everybody had drugs. Drugs was flood. I'm talking everybody had drugs. Every hood, every female, every dude, and you couldn't really make any money. Like not okay. Well, I was 84, 85, 86, 87. You can, LA was known for curb serving. A lot of places don't. Other places I've been to, they don't curb serve, and then they really didn't have rock houses like how we had rock houses in the Batarram. They didn't know nothing about no Batarram in the other states I've been to. They was like a Batarram. I said, yeah, that's a tank that goes through your house with a steel bar, and knock off your door and go and run in there and get you. They was like, hell no. So they wasn't used to Batarram rock houses, and they didn't curb serve. They just off the pager, off the phone, that type of shit. But yeah, I participated in that activity. Yeah, it was very out of town because you was able to take an ounce and what cost it $500 in California, you could take it out there and at least sell it for 1,000 to 1,500. No, you know what I'm saying, easily.
Right.
Easy. Some places like when I was in Kansas, ounces was 1,200, and then I would go to Wichita, and it was 15 an ounce, and I'm only paying 5. So that's I can start off with nine zips, take 9 ounces out there, flip that. Now I'm seeing how much money I'm going back and forth. Fuck LA, I'm going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Again, I'm just mad. I had lived out there for a minute out there in Kansas. I had never seen that much money before.
Right, and so for those not familiar with the California terminology, when he's talking about curb serving, that is literally just hanging on the corner selling drugs to the cars that come past or to the people that walk up and want to buy drugs. And I've done that I've done that for a while myself in California. And I know that when you curb serving, every night is full of adventure. There's always something going on. Some smoker coming by trying to rob you or trick you out of money or trick you out of the drugs. So can you explain or talk about some of your, because this dude has a lot of funny stories. So can you, if you can recall, can you talk about something maybe that funny or something that stood out that might have happened one night when you was curb serving?
Oh well, shit, hell yeah. I mean, when I was young, when I was much younger, like when I was like 15, 16, and plus I used to be like a much smaller guy, right? So the smokers would kind of plot on us, right? They'll wait till all the older homies leave, right? And they leave by about 11, 12 o'clock, midnight. So we serving that graveyard shift from midnight to 6 in the morning because that's where all that money be rolling back then, right? So we out there, and me and everybody out there, we young, right? But we got guns on us because, in LA, selling dope, and motherfuckers know you out there selling dope that time of night, they're trying to walk up on you, bust your head, smoke you, right? So a smoker came to me one day, right? First, she wanted to work, she didn't have no money, so she wanted to exchange sex for some dope. I was like, hell no, I don't want to do that. She's come on, she's trying to beg, right? So she said, well, I'm back, I'm gonna get some money. So she left. She went back, and then she was like, she pulled out some money. She pulled out some money. I don't even know if it was real or fake, but she pulled out some money. Boom, like 220, 2 dubs. I said, okay. So she put it out, but she keep playing with the money, like keep straightening out, like because it was wrinkled. She keep folding straightening out, right? She said, let me what you got. Let me see all the rocks that you got. So my dumb ass pulled it out and pat all the rocks in my hand. She slapped it. Bow! She slapped my hand, all the rocks. So she on the ground getting them. So I'm over there punching her back in the head. She taking them punches because she's trying to get them damn rocks. So she gonna take them. Boom, boom, boom. I'm kicking her, but she still grabbing them damn rocks, right? She rolled over on the ground and she jumped over, ran. After that, I had we done so some of our rocks had smashed on the ground and stepped her. So let's just say if I had $200 worth of rocks in my hand, she might have got about 60 or 80 of them, and the rest of them was all cracked up on the ground and all broken up. So now the value out of it was gone. So yeah, she did that and rolled off and ran and took them ass whooping them knuckles for that piece of rock, them cracked rocks. So I said, man, that's a damn shame.
And no, most definitely, you're right. When some of those people who got addicted to that crack, they would go through a whole lot in order to try to get high if they didn't have any money. And then we got to keep in mind some of the dudes who got addicted to cocaine at one point in time were some vicious hustlers and gangsters themselves. And so
some
of those dudes were very dangerous. A lot of people don't know. I think in our minds growing up, because our generation, we didn't do crack cocaine. And so we look down on smokers. If you was doing drugs, because a person doing drugs back then, would break into their mama's house, steal from their best friend. And so in our minds, even though they were human, a crackhead was pretty low, but like I said, some of those crackheads before their addiction was vicious gangsters and killers. So you definitely had to, be on the watch out for some of those guys.
Oh yeah, and a lot of them wasn't no punks. I mean, you can't be talking crazy to them because he smoked crack. Yeah, everybody ain't a punk because they get high. Nah, yeah, of course. I just seen smokers whoop dope dealers' ass.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, like I said, I've seen some vicious smokers myself. And so, how did you happen to start going, out of state?
The first time I went out of state was in 1986. Well, what happened was I went to Job Corps. I went to Clearfield, Utah, in the Job Corps, right? And I went to the mall. But, and I was and by me being in Utah, it was a lot of white. So I said, well, where the black people at? So they were like, Ogden. You got to go to Ogden, Utah. That's where most of the blacks at. So I went to Ogden. I'm like, yeah, okay. So I went there and I used to ask around, y'all smoking crack? He was like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I said, well, how much? I think it's 86. So crack was, an ounce was high back then. So I was like, yeah. I said, yeah. So I said, damn. So I called my homeboy. He was back in LA. I said, you know what? I'm going to sneak out there, right? I'm going to get a weekend pass and I'm going to act like I'm in Utah for the weekend, fly to LA and come back and bring some work out there. But then I had thought about that. I told him, I said, no, why don't you just catch the bus out here with some dope? I told my homeboy. So when he came up there, he caught the bus with some dope on him. And when I got the weekend pass, we went out there. We served out there in Utah. We served out there. Little bitty. I'm talking, them rocks was way smaller. I mean, my 20s they was like, oh man, you gonna spoil them. Like I'm gonna spoil the crackheads because my shit's too big. So I would cut it in half. And it was still too big. I said, this is too big? He was like, yeah. They was serving real, small rocks. I mean, you can get rich. You can come up much faster. You know what I'm saying? But I was, like, damn. So 86 was the first time I did it. But then I went to jail. Got caught up some other stuff. And then when I was in juvenile jail, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take it a little bit more serious. I'm going back out of town because I know it's not gonna be there forever. I better get it while it's still lucrative. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, when I got back out of jail and I started going out of town in '89 all the time. I stayed out of town.
And so by the time you started going out of town in '89, I'm assuming that the movie Colors had been out by then. And so how were you perceived being a blood from LA?
Well, I mean, when I went to Oklahoma. I went to Tulsa, Oklahoma. So when I got there, it was already my older homies, older than me, was already out there. And they had established a hood out there. So when I went out there, I went walking right into another blood hood in Tulsa. They had a gang called Red Mob, and they had the Rip Boys, right? and they were both Bloods. And then we had, of course, APBs out there. So when I came down there, I just, I came right into the homies, you know what I'm saying? But I had asked the homies, where's another spot at outside here? I don't want to bump heads. Take me to another spot. So they took me to another part of Oklahoma, another part of Tulsa, North Tulsa, somewhere I went. And I established my own little shop in these apartments, you know what I'm saying? Because we had quite a few homies out there, and they was all doing their thing. I didn't want to step on their toes or bump heads on them, so I went out and, went and did my own thing in another side of Tulsa, And I told him if I need him, if I get in trouble, I'll call him. But I said, but other than that, I know how to wiggle. Just show me where it's at. I know how to set up shop and talk to people and get things cracking. I just didn't know where it's at. Just point me in the direction. So when they point me in the direction, in a matter of 3 hours, I had his shop set up and everything was good. I had the people, everything lined up, house cleaned up, and we working. You know what I'm saying?
And so at that time, though, so I guess the question that I'm asking is, at that time, how were all the LA Bloods out there perceived by the people from Oklahoma? Did they welcome you guys? Did they look up to you guys? Did they want you guys to go back to Cali?
Nah, that's like I said, we had a hood out there. So my homies just started a hood, another APP hood. So we was the big homies. You know what I'm saying? Even me being young, I was a big homie. But I didn't. I interact with all of them, but they was doing their thing, and I was doing my thing. But yeah, we was accepted with open arms. Of course, we was a big homie. It was nothing but love, of course.
And so before you was arrested on these federal charges, did you ever find yourself in the LA County jail? Because I hear from a lot of people that I talk to, the LA County jail back then was a different, entirely wild experience in its own. So did you ever go to the LA County jail?
Yeah, I went to the LA County jail in 89, for some traffic shit. I went to the LA County jail for about 3-4 days. Yeah, I went to the LA County jail. It was a zoo, before I got to this actual Mazda shit, I had about 6 fights. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it was man. Each man just get to where I was trying to get to. It was worse than when I had never been to state prison, but it was worse than prison, federal prison.
And so you say before you got to the module, you had about 6 fights. So it kind of explained for us, why was you having so many fights? What was going on?
Was hitting me up. You know what I'm saying? Where you from? I'm like, nigga, it's blood. You know what I'm saying? It was on. Yeah, I think it was, it was more Crips than it was Bloods. And when I got arrested, I went to, I'm trying to think, was I at Carson Sheriff? I got into it before I went to the county. I had got into it in the holding cell somewhere. Well, I was in Compton. I think, I was in Compton. I was in Compton Court. Compton Court. Yeah, how can I forget it? Compton Court. Yeah, and I had got to a fight Compton Court. Then they had a spitting contest on the bus. Getting there. Then it was the county jail, some more shit. Yeah, it was just, by the time I got there, I was like, damn, I got speed knots on the side of my head. Motherfuckers punching up, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But yeah, I was knotted up. But then by the time I got there, I was cool. When I was in Denver 10, 4300, Denver Road, cell 10.
So simply just telling a person that you was a Blood back then automatically kicked off a fight.
Ain't no question. Yeah, especially if you had like a Blood with some nuts. I had a little nuts. Like, where you from? I'm like, nigga, it's Blood. Nigga, where you from? Like, what? Don't ask me where I'm from, nigga. Where it look like I'm from? I ain't really kicking with y'all.
Yeah.
Because when you walk in the tank, it's going to be probably like 9 Crips all over there huddled up talking. And I'm standing over there by myself. I'm standing up because I already know it's going to go down. You know what I'm saying? So, boom, I'm standing up. Hey, homie, where you from? I'm from where you don't like. Nigga, you already know what time it is. I ain't, you know what I'm saying? We already know what's up. You know what I'm saying? And just get it out the way because I don't want to be sitting around hoping and wishing y'all don't do nothing. I know y'all going to do something. So let's just get this out the way now, and that's it. The police be looking through the window anyway. The police be looking because they know what's going to happen. They be looking through the window and see it's going to go down, So I stay by the door and I fight. I don't want to go close to the toilet. I want to get stomped out. Hell no. It's a strategy behind this type of shit.
And so I'm assuming that a lot of times, even though these Crips wasn't Crips who you directly beefed with on the streets, back in those days, I like to call those times traditional gangbanging. Any Blood was an automatic enemy of any Crip, even if you guys was miles and miles apart from each other. So just upon the fact of learning that you was a Blood, these dudes wanted to fade.
Yeah, but the only thing I can't say this: the Hoovers didn't trip like everybody else. The Hoovers didn't never trip on me. Hoover Crips, yeah. Every time I ran to Hoovers, they would hit me. What's up? Where you from? Yeah, they left it alone. But all the rest of them motherfuckers, nah, East Coast and the neighborhood, nah, it was going down. The Hoovers wasn't really tripping because we don't beef with Hoovers. You know what I'm saying? We're nowhere near the Hoovers, so they didn't have no hatred towards Athens. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, he's just a blood. They weren't really tripping. You know what I'm saying? But they was tripping on other Crips. The Hoovers was tripping on neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying? Right. But the neighborhood's tripping on everybody. You know what I'm saying?
And so as I was watching your page and the name of his page, and once again, I think you guys should go check it out. He's got some great funny stories on there. The name of your page is
the Raconteur. The Raconteur is a skillful storyteller. And 8 million stories because I got a whole bunch of stories. I got stories up to yin yang.
And so you told a story about a practice that I heard that was pretty common back in the 80s. You were picked up by the police and they became angry because they couldn't pin you with, they thought that you had a weapon. And so what they did was they dropped you off knowing that you was a blood.
Yeah.
They dropped you off in the Crip hood. So y'all, let's think about this. You know, the police know what's going on because they're patrolling these streets every day. Back in the 80s was the warfare between Bloods and Crips. It was crazy. And so they eventually dropped you off in a Crip hood.
Well, what happened was I had a gun. I had a 6-shot 12 gauge. So it was New Year's. I was trying to shoot out the lights and make it dark because we finna do some wild shit out here. We know I'm young. So I'm shooting out the light, boom. But I put the gun behind my back each time I do it because I'm on Figueroa. That's a busy street. And as I'm looking at the light, because they didn't go out, I got the gun behind my back. Here come the fucking police going down the center divider. I'm like, oh shit, right? So my homeboy, he's upstairs. He like, hey, nigga, they for the jacket. You run, nigga, throw the gun, and when you run, I'll get to grab the gun and take it in the house. I said, all right. So I took off. They had to go around and chase me, come to the alley because they knew I went to the back of the alley. So they chased me. You know what I'm saying? I'm running. I jumped in some bushes and did all that shit there. My shoe was sticking out the bush. I thought they was gone. They was creeping. Then they ended up yanking, get out of here. Beat me up, push me out. They was like, what that weapon you had? They wasn't sure what it was, though, but they knew it was something because I ran. You know what I'm saying? They was like, why'd you run? What that weapon you had? I said, that wasn't no weapon, man. I didn't have no weapon. I had a police baton. It was like, get the fuck out of here. Like, what the fuck, you had a weapon? What the fuck you doing with a police baton? I said, I don't know. That's why I ran, because I know I ain't supposed to have it. I'm not the police. It was like, man, get the fuck out of here. Where that gun at, motherfucker? I said, I ain't got no gun, so because they couldn't find it. My homeboy, when I was running, my homeboy grabbed it and took it in the house. Boom. And locked, you know what I'm saying? It's locked the door. Right. So now they pissed. So now that they know I had something, now they can get it. They're gonna take me in and drop me off in the rival Crip neighborhood. So when they went to the first Crip neighborhood, they ran because, like I told you, it's New Year's, so they probably had guns on them. They ran. They took off running. Right. Now the ones that didn't run, they was like, hey, we got one in the car. Talk about we got a blood. We got one in the car for y'all.
And so just to explain for my listeners, the police have put you in the car and they drove you to a blood hood. I mean, a Crip hood, knowing that you a blood, and they're telling the Crips, hey, we got one.
Right. They did because they knew what it. I mean, I wasn't in my hood, but I was in I was in a blood hood called Denver Lane. And they, the police know what Denver Lane is. So, and I got red shoes on, red shoestrings. So when they catch it, they put it in the back seat. First they told me they're gonna take me to Jordan Downs, way in Watts. I was like, man, I hope they don't take me way over there because that's a far walk back. I got to, what I'm saying? So I'm like, oh, fuck no, right? So they took me to the nearest Crip hood, which was 11 Deuce Broadways. They took me over there, and then they was like, I told them they ran, and then the one that was there, they was like, hey, we got one in the car. We got one in the car. But one of the Crips was like, so what? Like, we don't want it like that. You know what I'm saying? We ain't work with the police. So they checked them. So they was like, oh, okay. Like, they was mad. Like, damn, niggas didn't bite. They didn't, you know what I'm saying? They was some real niggas. They didn't bite, right? So they took me to the next Crip hood, Front Street Watts. Miraculously, nobody was out. Wasn't nobody out over there. I thought not a soul. These motherfuckers drove down each street looking for these police. These motherfuckers went down each street they hood looking 105th, 106th, going down all these different streets trying to drop me off over there, right? But they ended up dropping me, just let me go in their hood and I ran to the Knicks, not the Knicks, but I ran to the Bounty Hunters. You know what I'm saying? Over there on the 108th and Central.
Yeah, and so that's crazy right there. A lot of people can't understand that. How the fact that here you go, the police who are supposed to be out there to protect and serve, they take an individual who they know is a blood and drop him off in the Crip hood. And so they knew that if you had got spotted or got caught by the wrong crowd, you possibly could have, in very likely,
got killed. I got killed. Yeah, of course. Yeah. They did. I mean, they've done that to me. They done brought Crips over there, and we done did the same thing. And one time they brought a dude. He was laying in the back seat. Obviously he was running because he had all kinds of grass and dirt on his clothes and shit. Right? It was like, yeah, we brought one. It was dissing him though, like calling him a crab. We got one crab for y'all. We was like, man, get out of here with that shit. Like, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, so what, you go drop him out? We do something to him. And you take us to jail, and you know what I'm saying? Take it to the funeral home. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody falling for that goofy shit. Yeah, that's just for goofballs.
Yeah, that's definitely that crazy how the police, and I've heard stories like that from several people, how the police would do this type of stuff. And explain a little bit about when you wind up getting caught with all these drugs. How old were you and how much time were you facing?
I was 19 years old. I got caught with 1,000 grams of crack. It was a key of crack. I was 19 years old. And out of town, the value of it that time was, let's see, I can't add it up right now, but it was a nice piece of change. 36 zips and $1,200 a pop. So yeah, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, and I was facing. I got sentenced to. I got convicted. I got 24 years. 24 years in federal prison. So when 24 years, 19 years old, I had no understanding. I went in jail, fighting, doing all type of shit.
And so, due to, I guess you was coming from Los Angeles and headed to wherever you were headed, it was a federal case.
Yeah, I was in Missouri. Yeah, hell, it's a federal case. I mean, that's interstate. That's trafficking. Drug trafficking. And possession with. I got my charge was possession with the intent to distribute, crack cocaine.
And so you already knew when you were sentenced to 24 years that you was gonna have to do what, 80% of that?
Yeah. If I didn't fight my case. It took me a while to start because I started seeing dudes going fighting a case and getting results. So I went for my case, and I gave back 5 years on case. So now I have 19 years, which is still a long time, but it was a relief.
Right. Wow.
So after 19 years, I did 17 years and 10 months. And I got released from Victorville, California prison. And I came back home. I was paroled to Oakland, California.
And so what was the first prison that they sent you to?
The first prison I went to was USP Leavenworth. Leavenworth is an old prison. Leavenworth is one of the federal penitentiaries. I don't know if it was the first penitentiary, but it's definitely one of the most oldest. That penitentiary's been there for a while, and you can see it because it's an old jail. They had to remodel, and because the cells are real small. Like the old side of the jail, them cells are real small, right? But then they had the updated version. So they shut down. I don't know if they shut down Leavenworth, but they shut down most of the old jails and built these new jails. They got these new lit up jails because the old jails, Leavenworth, it's an old prison. It's they got a lot of hiding. They got a lot of blind spots there. So blind spots, a lot of us get stabbed up in these blind spots. So they build these new jails so they don't have no blind spots. Like these old jails. The old jails got a lot of blind. Terre Haute, Lewisburg, and Longport in Atlanta. They got these old. Because when I first came to Sisters, the only prisons was Leavenworth, Lewisburg, Terre Haute, Longport, Atlanta, and Marion. That was the only 6. They didn't have no prisons. That was the only 6 prisons you can rotate through. Everything else was the medium or low FCI. Those was the only 6 prisons when I first came.
And so what year was it when you was arrested and sent to the federal prison system? 1990. And so how long do you believe that you were in prison before you seen your first extreme act of violence that made you realize, okay, it's on up here and I gotta be aware at all times?
The first incident I saw, I probably was in jail about a week. You know, shit, but shit, then I had to bust a motherfucker. I hit a nigga with a mop ring up in there. So I mean, yeah, it wasn't about a week after I got there, and then I was in some shit about a month later.
And so the dude that you had to hit with the mop ringer, was he from California or was he from another state?
No, he was from somewhere else. He was somewhere else. You know, playing basketball with these motherfuckers, and these motherfuckers get saying crazy shit out their mouth. And you gotta, you know what I'm saying? So I just let it go. You know what I'm saying? Rocked him to sleep. He was we was in the same unit, so I knew he wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? Right. I knew he would forget because I didn't say it on the court. He said something out of pocket. I said, man, I ain't tripping, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So he thought he was cocky till he felt that mop ring inside his motherfucking head. Police got killed at Lone Polk in well, I got there in 2000, but I forgot what year, but it wasn't long because the police didn't want you to walk with your hands in your pocket because what happened, the guy that killed the police, he had his hands in his pocket. And when he got by the police, he pulled his hand out, he had the knife taped to his hand, and he stabbed the police and killed him. So from that incident, they was telling you, you know, you walk down, take your hands out your pocket. You know, they was bullying. They had the cowboy crew down there. The cowboy crew is a group of police that was just going around bullying motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? They walk around with this mustache, horseshoe mustache, and they were fucking whooping people's ass. Al Herrera was the warden, Mexican guy. He broke all that shit up. Oh, Al got there and said, "Man, what is this?" He saw the little shit going on because the guy that got killed, the police that got killed, they had this patch on their shirts. I forgot his name. Something. Never again. They was like, that'll never happen again, right?
Right.
So the warden was like, man, what is that patch say? Something. They was like, man, don't come to work with us. Was y'all in a gang or something? Because that's what they was kind of carrying. So they didn't like Al Herrera. Then he was Mexican too. They was like, oh, they wasn't feeling Al Herrera because he broke up that white boy network, that cowboy crew, good old boy network. He broke it up. Right. And they weren't feeling that shit because they was, you know, you go there, you wouldn't get no new clothes. You come off the bus. And you know, when you come off the bus, you're supposed to get new issue or everything, brand new shit. You fresh. They was getting off of old clothes and all that, taking the shit out and selling. So when Al came, everybody was getting new clothes, and they was he was make sure you got your issue. Put it that way.
Right.
That's what he do. He wasn't doing nothing wrong. They was upset because they couldn't do that shit no more. So he was just making sure you got what you had coming. That's all. He wasn't giving them up for no extra shit. He just said, y'all taking shit, give them what they got coming. They ain't like Al.
You told me that you did 17 and a half years straight, and during those times you ran across some pretty notable convicts, names that people would recognize. You said you was locked up actually with John Gotti. What was it like doing a little bit of time with John Gotti? Did he talk to you? Because I always heard that he didn't like blacks.
No, I don't believe that. That's all that shit is hype, man. Me and John Gotti was in the same. We was in the E unit. I was in ED5 and he was in ED11. ED5 is E unit D range 5 cell. Okay, and he was in E unit D range 11 cell. But I met Gotti through a pimp dude from Tennessee named Shorty Red. Shorty Red, you know, that's how I met John Gotti through there because him and Shorty Red was cool. And then me, Shorty Red, and John Gotti used to kick it and talk and play cards down there, you know, and kick it in front of Shorty Red cell because me and Gotti was on the same tier. So then me and Gotti started hanging out, going to rec, but we would go on the rec and it's snowing and it's freezing cold. It used to be cold as hell out there in Marion, Illinois. So we would go out there. He would come by my cell and just say, "Let's go to rec, Cree. Let's go kick it at rec." So we go to rec. We'll be the only two people out there at rec cage. It'd be freezing out there. We'd be the only two in our unit there. So we'll be out there just, you know, walking the lap with a coat on, hats on, and talking. And, you know, he liked to tell war stories too. He gets, and it's therapeutic for him to tell war stories. So yeah, I mean, he wasn't prejudiced towards blacks. I don't know what he got that. And I even told him that. I even told him that. I said, I asked him first. I said, you ain't prejudiced towards blacks like they say. He was like, come on, man. He was like, come on, man. You see what unit I'm in. If I was prejudiced towards blacks, well, I wouldn't be in the, because he was in unit. It was all blacks. He's all blacks. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, these niggas rapping and singing and doing all kinds of stuff. He was over there the whole time. Me and him kicked it for 6 months. So he was over there before I was there first, and he stayed the whole time. The whole time he left, when he was transferring to Springfield when he died. So he was there. It ain't like he was trying to get to, the next unit was all white boys. He wasn't trying. He definitely wasn't trying. He didn't want to be over there with them.
Right.
So,
and so if you can recall, what are some of the things that John Gotti liked to do up in there, or what are some of the things that you guys did besides going to the rec? Is it anything that he liked?
You got to understand, Marion is a lockdown institution, so you lock down 21 hours a day, and you get 3 hours of rec on the average day. But on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you lock down 23 hours a day, and you get 1 hour of rec. So most of the time, he likes to read, so he got a lot of books, history books that he was reading. I mean, you can't do that. You got a TV in your cell, you got a radio, and you're in a single cell. You're in a cell by yourself. So ain't much you can do. You work out, read, write, watch TV, and listen to the radio. That's pretty much it. Right. So I mean, he was listening to the radio, and then when we come out, we go to get his tray, because you got to come out one at a time to get your tray. He would stop by, give me some candy or some, or he didn't eat a whole bunch of junk food because he had throat cancer. So he was, he just come by and drop me off a book or something, and with chit chat for a few seconds. I mean, it wasn't much you could do.
Right. And so you say that he liked to tell war stories and stuff, and that. So without going into anything necessarily deep that he would talk about, did he have you some good stories and some of that good mafia stuff?
Oh man, that's how. I mean, you gotta say he's a mob boss. So
yeah. I
mean, and some of the stories he used to tell me that I should stop him, right? Because they were too graphic. They were real graphic. The stories he was telling me. I said, well, you must trust me to tell me this shit, because he's telling me some shit. You know what I'm saying? I was like, he said, yeah, come on. He said, listen. He said, one thing I know, I ain't never getting back out. And he knew that he was going to die in jail. He knew that. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't, like most people with life sentences, they be like, oh, when I get out, they say shit like that. He wasn't delusional. He was like, yeah, I know I'm going to die here, and I'm not never getting out. I said, tell you this, I will never repeat what you telling me. When I told him, what you telling me, I would never repeat that. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to, this shit was too graphic to even think about. The shit that he's telling me, right? He's telling me he telling me some shit that he would tell one of his partners amongst his crew. That's the shit that he's telling me. I'm talking these stories. These stories ain't, man, listen, trust me. The stories he's telling me is, man, but it was therapeutic for him to tell it to me. That's why he wanted to go out and wreck in the snow and talk about it, because it made him, it gave him some type of, like, I don't know, like a surge. He felt good, like getting it off and talking about it. You know what I'm saying? And
like he was possibly cleansing his soul or something.
Yeah, in a sense, because he was like, and I thought he would go deep into the stories, and I'd be like, look, man, I said, you remember how they bust your ass, right? I didn't know, because when I saw the one thing on the TV, they busted Gotti. They had this microphone thing, right? And it was like an umbrella with a mic thing in it. It can hear from a distance. I don't know how far, but it can hear around the corner and all that type of shit. This is what they were showing on TV. So we would sit down side by side, but he would still talk about it because it did something for him to talk about that shit. He was reliving. I was like, man, I said, man, you feel comfortable telling me that? He said, yeah. He said, I trust you. I know you ain't gonna say nothing. I said, I ain't gonna say that. I said, I swear I'll never tell nobody the story. You know what I'm saying? I never told nobody. Right. I took it to the grave. I'll never repeat the story that he told me. Never.
And then so once he was transferred, or you guys parted ways, if you can recall, how long after did he pass away? Because you said by the time you met him, he had already had throat cancer.
Yeah. He was. I think he was at the early stages. But you see, we was together in 96, 7. I got there in 96. We was together in 97. Okay, then they wouldn't let him graduate either, because you go to the general population, then you graduate to C unit, then you go to B unit, then you out of there. They wouldn't even let him graduate. You know what I'm saying? He didn't even get a chance to go to C and B. You know what I'm saying? They keep him in D, E, F. That's what they kept him at, right? So, but they sent him to Springfield. They got him in, I want to say 97. I'm sorry. I got there 96, 97. So 97 we kicked it. Yeah, he left in 97, if I'm not mistaken. But I know by the time I got to Lompoc, I had went to Florence, then I got to Lompoc, and then I think he passed away like 2001, right? Because they showed it when I was there. I was like, damn. And but it was a trip because I was in Lompoc, and they played it on the TV. It was like the mob boss John Gotti, and I looked at. I just bust out laughing. I said, "This nigga's a fool, right?" I said, "You just don't know." You know what I'm saying? Like the story you told me, and I just laughed, right? And I said, "Damn, I was glad that I met Gotti. He was in my life, in my journey, in my life path to meet, the person to meet, right? But the shit that he told me, I just bust out laughing. I said, he was a fool, right?" And I was like, "What's funny?" And I was like, "Nothing." You know what I'm saying? It ain't that. You wouldn't understand, and I wouldn't even tell you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I said, my man, he did it his way. You know what I'm saying? He did it. They wouldn't let us move. They won't let you take pictures there, right?
Uh-huh.
He gave me a picture. He gave me a picture of him because there you had to, everything is solo. So you only can take pictures there on Christmas. Like in the German population, you get one picture for Christmas. That's it. Boom, take one picture. Then once you get to C and B, you can take more pictures. But he never made that far. They didn't let him go that way. So he just gave me a picture of him. I got the picture of him, you know what I'm saying, where he was in the sweatsuit because we had the great sweatsuit. And that was it. You know, so I kept the picture.
And that's what I was going to ask you. You still have that picture to this day?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I got my man. Yeah, of course. That's my man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I that little time we spent together, he told me a lot, man. He told me a lot. He told me he told me a lot, man. And he had a channel that would blow up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so it was nice to meet him. I ran into him and Jeff Fort's son. You know what I'm saying? He ended up getting hard. Louis Fort was cool. He was a prince, you know what I'm saying? So he had a lot of pull in the jail when he was there. So he made sure I was straight when I came in there. He looked out, he's a L Rooker, Stone. So when I came in there about me being a blood, you know what I'm saying, on the red team, he made sure I was straight. He looked out for me.
Yeah.
Jeff Fort.
And so you also said you ran across Big Herc, who has the channel
Fresh Out.
Yeah.
We was in Lompoc together. Yeah, Big Herc was in Lompoc. We was in Lompoc together. He was working out all the time. They had Lompoc still had the weights. They still had those the little machines. They had that.
Right.
So everybody, that was trying to get the machines did a lot of justice for guys that didn't have no free weights. They had the machines still. Yeah, they still had the machines up there in Lompoc. So that was a good thing. He was always on that, trying to keep his physique intact. You know what I'm saying? So when he got out, now I used to see Big Herc in Lompoc. I didn't ever really kick him, but I used to always see him. And when I seen his show, I contacted him. I was like, "Yo," I said, "Nigga, we was in Lompoc together." When I got there, he came to my neighborhood. We did the interview in Athens Park.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he came to it.
And you know what? If I'm not mistaken, I believe I seen that interview, and I didn't at the time. I didn't know you, so it didn't dawn on me. But now that you mentioned it, I do believe I seen an interview where he came to LA and interviewed somebody from Athens Park. Yeah.
Yeah, he came. Yeah, it was me. That was me. We did. We shot. Yeah, we shot. And we had a good time, man. You know what I'm saying? All his followers was like, "Man, bring Creek back, man. He was cool."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so let me ask you about. I hear a lot of people from California who go do Fed time. They say that sometimes there's a lot of tension between Cali and the dudes from DC. And why is that?
Well, I mean, I don't know. DC, they not as deep as everybody else. I mean, they're pretty deep, but they just, I don't know. They got a reputation. They have one of the most illest reputations in the system. So I don't know. I mean, they just, I don't know. I mean, because I met some respectable DC guys. That was about respect. They was about men time. But then I met some crazy goofy from DC, just wilding out. You know what I'm saying?
And so in the federal system, do you still sometimes have the beef, or not necessarily the beef, but do you still have the tensions and the riot problems between the blacks and the Southern Mexicans that you have like in the state?
Yeah, but let me see. Like, okay, see, like the further east you go, there's not that many South sides, and then they sprinkle it out. And then the further east you go, the Bloods and Crips. Once outside of Lompoc, the Bloods and Crips pretty much kick it together because you get more done when we were together. Because usually we be deep. I mean, you got Long Poke, that's our backyard, but then you got Florence, Colorado, which is next door, the next one, and then you got Leavenworth. So once you pass Leavenworth, pretty much everything else is like we out of bounds. So we stick together. But when I was in Leavenworth, we was all sticking together. We was deep in Leavenworth. We all stuck together.
And so you said that while doing federal time, you were involved in some riots where the Bloods and Crips got into it with the Serenos.
Yeah. I got the first riot I got into with we got to with some Jamaicans one time. Some Jamaicans at their soccer field, and then we got into it with the Blood and Crip riot, Bloods versus the Crips, and then the Southsiders. You know what I'm saying? And then it was the Pisces. It was a Pisces. Yeah, but it was the Southsiders. You know what I'm saying? It was a misunderstanding. A lot of times it be small shit, and it usually be over some. Because one time we got to beef over some sugar, some damn some regular sugar, right? But my homeboy touched that sugar, so it was and then they had already gave a warning who sugar it was. It was their sugar, but the homeboy, he went dipped out their sugar. You know what I'm saying? And it started some shit.
So it was some sugar that they had specifically set to the side in the kitchen for their use only, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, well, everybody, it's a respect thing. So they had 50 pounds of sugar sitting somewhere, and they let everybody know. I'm gonna keep it real. It wasn't their fault. It was our fault. They let everybody know, hey, we got some sugar over there. You gonna see 50 pounds? That's us. Oh, okay, yeah, okay, cool. Because they was letting everybody know in the kitchen. Just let it stay there. We just trying to find the right time to move it. It's 50 pounds. It's a big ass 50-pound bag. Right. So they just try to get the right cop there to open the door and slide out. They take the whole 50 pounds of sugar up out of there. But when it was all said and done, our homie was in the wrong. He was in the wrong.
So after it was all said and done, did he get disciplined or ran off the yard, or?
Well, no, he didn't get ran off the yard. It's just that the homie was on medicine. The little homie was on some kind of medicine. He used to go to pill call. He was taking something, and his elevator wasn't reaching the top floor. He had right. So he didn't understand, but he understood when everybody was out there with the knives and shit. So he understood that. You know what I'm saying? So he thought it was playtime, but I'm telling you, somebody might get killed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So fucking sugar. Somebody that ain't got nothing to do with this shit, but they out there participating. It's just how it goes. And he go out there because he's part of a certain group, and he fight and put a knife in his neck.
Yeah.
And he bleed to death and die. Oh, fucking sugar that they said don't touch.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The prison rules are simple, man. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got to like you. You ain't got to like me, but you got to respect me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Okay. You know what I'm saying? So that's most of how it is.
Well, yeah, definitely, man. Congratulations, man. And you guys head to his page, The Racketeur, 8_million stories. He is definitely a funny dude. He definitely got a lot of stories on there. And y'all go and check him out, man. Hey, thank you for coming on my channel, sharing your stories with me. I wish you much success.
Hey, for sure. I appreciate it, my brother.
Yes, sir. And enjoy the rest of your night.
Most definitely am. You too, brother.
All right, you too.
All right.
All right.